Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and Titan has a new Nano ratchet. And I'll get into that in just a sec, but I wanted to clear up something yesterday when I was talking about this knife and the flat versus hollow grind. And one of the problems is I switched my terms around partway through. This definitely, to me, seems like a flat grind, no matter what. Right there. I brought out my Buck 110, which is kind of the classic buck folding hunter knives, and that buck, like most bucks, like many bucks, has a very distinct hollow grind. As you can see, there's a little concavity right here, and then I pointed out that I do like my convex grinds the best. But anyway, this is a flat grind on this Kershaw. There is absolutely nothing there, so that's a flat. This is a hollow. And this is a Scandi. Some people were talking about this as being like a high flat because the flat begins way up here on the blade versus down lower. And since this is a Mora knife, it's kind of the Scandi of the Scandis. And so that's got a flat grind right down here, but it also has flat cheeks, which means it's got, kind of a flat grind, but it's low, hence a Scandi grind. Anyway, enough of that. Hopefully I didn't mix things up because I was thinking about a bunch of other things while I was talking. But let's go back to this Titan Nano ratchet. Now, a while ago, I did a video where I took a couple of these Titan ratchets that I picked up at the auto parts store and I cut them off and produced these. And in the meantime, since that video, Titan came out with a pair of these little Nano ratchets. Theirs look a touch different than mine because you can watch that video. I just literally cut them off with an angle grinder and then polished them up, and love these things. Super handy. Titan came out with some, but they have a new one out, and that's this guy here. It looks very similar, doesn't it? But what's the difference? Well, the handle's a little different because it also has a bit driver down here or a place where you could put a handle. Because anything that's 1/4 inch, like this, a 1/4 inch hex can go in there, so I can use it as a handle, or if I wanted, I could drive like whatever this is, my 36mm socket, using my little driver there. Of course, that's kind of a joke, but this isn't a joke. I can take a foot-long extension like this. This is just a 1/4 hex to 1/4 square extension, and it turns out it's very similar in length to the longest 1/4 inch snap-on. So, not that you're going to be cranking things that are a 1/4 inch square on this end, but I have got now a ratchet, if you look at that, with a similar sized handle. Pretty crazy. I think it might work best if you just have a little bit shorter handle. Lots of different possibilities there. In fact, this one might not be a bad idea. Kind of fits in with that little 1/4 or 1/2 inch driver. But then I've got a decent ratcheting handle. So there's that, but of course you can also throw a bit in. That does give you kind of a standard handle or a little bit longer one like this, and it gives you very similar to this. This is a Jeep branded 1/4 inch bit driver. But anyway, so there you go in this little Titan ratchet. Now, could I break this? I don't know. I'd probably break the shaft here before I'd break this, but there is a limited lifetime warranty on the Titan tools. This is made in Taiwan, and it has a price on Amazon, I think around $16 right now, and that's just for the ratchet, because it's going to cost a little bit more than the standard Nano ratchets. However, I was weighing these things, and I thought this was kind of interesting. You can see a scale here. Let me move this down. This kind of surprised me. Titan also makes this beautiful orange remind me if I forget, but I'm going to go somewhere with that in a sec. But anyway, this beautiful orange-handled aluminum swivel head ratchet. Now, on the scale, this thing says it is 39.5 grams. Okay? Check this out. I'll throw this big one on here, because this is the similar one, only made of steel. That one is 75 grams. What if I go down to my little stubby or Nano that I made? That's 42 grams. So it is actually, this thing, this metal or iron one or steel one is actually heavier than this larger one, which is why this is often in my EDC kit. However, I started thinking one of the cool things about these is the swivel head. Okay, it's actually a pretty good mechanism, fairly strong, although as I was looking on the Nano, not that Nano, where'd my new Nano go? There it is. I was looking closely at those. You know, I hope the plastic stays strong on that reversing piece. But anyway, these seem to be really well made, useful, simple design, strong, lots of teeth. What if somebody made, say, a titanium Y or yoke handle that retrofits these, or maybe a Leatherman add-on? In other words, I've been playing around with the whole handle here, where the real magic is I can easily take this thing out, you know, with those two torque screws, or those hex screws, and then I'd have this thing. All we need is a good solid way to put that into a handle of some kind, and it doesn't have to be this fancy. It doesn't have to be, you know, machined perfectly here. What it has to do is hold it and allow it to swivel. So maybe CountyCom, if you're watching, you could actually machine an aluminum retrofitting kit with whatever kind of handle we want, that we just go and buy this part and drop it in. Now, of course, you could do that with Snap-ons too. You know, Snap-on makes all kinds of other bit drivers. I did the same with this, where I actually got a kit and built one of these, and then Snap-on came out with it a little later. I think it would be cool if we came out with different handle adapters that we dropped our little Titan ratcheting swivel heads in. I think that's a good idea. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, and sorry about the confusion yesterday, and thanks to all those commenters that pointed it out. You're absolutely correct. And with that, Doc out.